As darkness falls around you, all the dread and the worry seeps in. You stare out the window, watching for her. Meanwhile, your mind supplies numerous images. Each one is more horrific than the last. In your mind, a bestial female creature crawls slowly through the window, her long black hair flowing behind her. Everything is moving quickly and slowly, all at once, and you stand frozen as you watch her move toward the other corner of the room, inhuman eyes locked on her target. The sound of screams fills your mind, and you stand frozen there until you hear a different sound that startles you back into the present, a small cry. Instantly, you run to the cradle and breathe a sigh of relief. Your baby girl is fine, just sleeping, with the amulet still around her little neck. Your shoulders are marginally more relaxed at the sight, but it's so hard not to be on guard when you have someone so precious and fragile in your care, especially after you just lost your nephew to her. During the day, you keep your mind occupied on other things. After all, you have a child to care for and a house to run. At night, though, it's so much harder, and it's been so long since you have experienced a restful night's sleep. This is her domain, and you just have to deal with it. For the past week, this has been your vigil. Night after night, you stay up staring at the window, preparing yourself for a fight that you know you cannot win. But you will fight her nonetheless. You've done everything you can to protect your house and your child, so you wait night after night to see if it's enough to protect both of you from her, from Lilith. I'm Bree.
I'm Christiana.
Dig out your incantation bowls,
because you're about to hear something strange.
Welcome to episode 20, Lilith. Alright, so my sources for this episode were a Encyclopedia Britannica article named Lilith, a Britannica article Samael, Jewish Woman's Archive, Lilith, Religion for Breakfast, The Origins of Lilith / Adam's First Wife. Always love when I can get a Religion for Breakfast video in here. And Lilith Through the Times, Lilith in Ancient Texts, How Stuff Works, The History of Lilith, From Demon to Adam's First Wife to Feminist Icon, Wikipedia, Lilith in Pop Culture. I was so close to going a whole episode without Wikipedia.
You know, we try.
And then I also used some actual books. So there was the Bible Historical and Literary Introduction by Ehrman, I think is the person's name, and the HarperCollins Study Bible. All right, so what do you know about Lilith?
Honestly, not much of anything. I know she's referenced as Adam's first wife and didn't want to be unequal to him. Was she expelled from the garden before Eve, maybe?
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay. But yeah, I don't really know a whole lot about her besides that I've heard her name, and I have heard her referenced as a feminist icon. Mm-hmm. But other than that.
So I actually learned a lot doing this episode. This was one that I wasn't sure if it was going to be enough for a full episode. Mm-hmm. And then, as you can see, it is not a short script. So, who is Lilith? A demonic figure in Jewish folklore. She was associated with infant death and child loss and was viewed as, and I quote, threatening the sexual and reproductive aspects of life. That's from Jewish Women's Archive.
Ooh.
According to the article from How Stuff Works, she was described as a raven-haired demon who preys on helpless newborn infants and seduces unsuspecting men using their, and I quote again, wasted seed to spawn hordes of demon babies.
Ew.
So that was that was the adult content warning.
Yeah. Ew.
The idea and concepts connected to her have changed and evolved over the years. So, as I said, I didn't say this yet. She began as a type or category of demon and was found in the beliefs and literature of many Middle Eastern cultures. So notice I say a type of demon or category. We're going to get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
Who and what Lilith is has actually really evolved a lot over time.
Okay.
Eventually, she became a single entity in later Jewish traditions. So some of the cultures and texts that we're going to look at today include the book of Isaiah from Christianity and Judaism, the Babylonian Talmud, incantation bowls from ancient Iraq and Iran, and then also in 4,000 years ago in ancient Mesopotamian demonology. So there were the Lilu, which were male Lilith demons, and the Lilitu, which were female. They're often translated as night monsters, according to Britannica.
Oh, that'd be an awesome band name.
Right? These types of demons were blamed for many types of illnesses and diseases, along with attacks on people of the opposite sex. So also think kind of like succubus, incubus type things here.
That's where my brain just went to.
We are going to go into more detail on these in a little bit. This is just kind of a taste of what to come, what to expect, if you will. Just from that introduction, right? What are your thoughts so far?
I did not know she was so heavily involved in the Jewish faith. I thought she was more involved in like Christianity, which is interesting. And I already kind of said my brain went to incubus and succubus when you were saying like attacks on the opposite sex.
Mm-hmm. So she pops up in pop culture a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like many things, religiously speaking, especially in the Christian and Jewish texts, we end up with these views of certain things,
mm-hmm.
but they're not actually based in any. The modern views aren't based in text stuff.
Right.
So if any of you guys took the deep dive and listened to our old Good Omens podcast, I occasionally would go on biblical soapboxes about this.
Sure.
So you're going to hear a little bit of this. And if you guys did listen to the Good Omens podcast, some of what I'm about to say is going to sound familiar because I'm going to have to go into the creation story from the Jewish and Christian, from the Christian Old Testament and the Jewish Torah.
Also, if you listen to Sauntering Vaguely Podwards, you'll know of the Pumpkin of Knowledge.
The Pumpkin of Knowledge, yes. It has returned.
If you started with us back then,
thank
you. That's awesome.
Thank you for sticking with us. I feel like we've gotten better, but that could just be my own bias. We're going to start with what most people think of when they think of Lilith is this variation or these inconsistencies found in the creation story in the book of Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I briefly talked about this in Sauntering Vaguely Podwards. Do you remember anything from that?
So I know the creation story was, the 7 days. On the seventh day, God rested. In the actual Garden of Eden, we don't know who it was that, quote-unquote, tempted Eve. A lot of times it's said that, the devil appeared in a snake form, but it might not have actually been the devil. And we also don't know if it was an apple.
It most likely wasn't an apple.
It wasn't, most likely was not.
We're going to focus on the fact that there is a discrepancy in the book of Genesis. So there is a variation of the creation story. In case because not everyone grew up in a Christian or Jewish background, right? So if you haven't, Genesis is the very first book of the Christian Old Testament and the Jewish Torah. In this book, it is described how the known universe and the earth was created. So that's kind of what we're talking about. So this variation tells that Lilith was the woman implied in what we would call the first telling of the creation story. This is Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, who was created from the same soil as Adam. According to the tradition, the second telling of the creation story is found in Genesis chapter 2, verse 22. And this is Eve being created from Adam's rib.
Oh, that's right.
We'll go into a little more detail, but there's discrepancies in this. So let's dive into the story in Genesis. Like Christiana had said earlier, this is a well-known Bible story, but it's not well understood. So the word Genesis literally means origin or coming into being. All of Genesis chapter 1 and then chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, on day 1. The heavens and the earth are created. The earth was formless, and darkness covered the waters. God said, "Let there be light," and there was. He decided, this is a good thing, this light thing. And then he's going to separate the light, the day, from the dark night. And then the first day was created. So then from that, when the day and the night, the light and the dark were separated, then we have the first day being created. Day 2, the sky, this is called the dome in my translation, is separated from the waters, which at this point, were there waters above and below the dome. I don't know. I didn't look that far into it. Day 3. Land is separated from the waters. So we have the sea is made, and then we have the land. And then the plants were created on the land. So at this point, we have day, we have night, we have sky, we have water, we have land and ocean.
Yes.
Day 4, the sun, moon, and stars were made. Because that is totally how it happened.
Yes.
Science. Day 5, the sea critters and the birds.
Sea critters.
Yes. Right. So day 6, our land critters, both our domestic and our wild. So our cattle are made, our unicorn cows. Cattle were mentioned twice.
Yes.
Don't know why. And humans were made. So by humans, I believe they're referring to Adam and a female human.
Okay.
I think. They were made in our image, which ties back to the belief that the ancient people who wrote this part of Genesis probably believed that there were other gods, but their God was the most powerful God.
Okay.
We're not going to go into that in too much detail, unless you want me to go into that in too much detail, and let me know.
Yeah.
At this point, also, everything was only eating vegetables and vegetation, so there was no carnivoreness going on. Human people, friends, were given dominion over
them.
The animals. Day 7, what happened, Christiana?
God took a nap. He was
did.
tired.
He did.
Which makes sense.
All right, so we got our first telling of Genesis. Second, this is... I'm holding up my fingers because you can see that. Is Genesis chapter 2, starting at verse 4, going all the way through chapter 3. There's some inconsistencies and some differences here. So there's a reversal of when the earth and the heavens were made, along with when the plants, animals, and humans. So human, only one at this point. So in this one, the heavens were made first. And then the land things.
Okay.
Man was made from the dirt. This goes a little bit more in depth on the first human. Man is told that he can eat from anything but the tree that contains the knowledge of good and evil. That's our
pumpkin of knowledge.
Yes. So then the man is like naming all the animals and stuff, but he just feels really, really lonely. He's like, I'm missing something, but I don't know what it is. So then God, trying to be a good like animal husbandry caretaker, is like, maybe I should give this person a mate or a friend or something. So
he needs stimulation.
This is not an animal that can be kept alone. Oh my God, I'm going to hell.
Taking research notes. You know what? If you're going, so am I.
It's like horses. You can't have just one. God puts man into a deep sleep, so he pulls out the really strong anesthesia.
Yes.
Yeah, he puts our man friend into a very deep sleep.
Propofol.
And then he pulls out a rib and like literally grows a human female. So what you're taught in Sunday school when I was growing up is that is why women have one less rib than men. Like I grew up being taught that. And I was in a freaking human A and P class in high school and had like high A's in it.
Yeah. I like anatomy and physiology. I never had to take human A&P, but I did animal, and I was good at it. Anyway, that doesn't matter.
But, like, not proud of that, but, like, I was taught that was true.
Yeah.
When I learned that as an adult, I was like...
Like, that women have one less rib, or that they do not have one less
That
rib?
they have the same amount of ribs as men.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
Anyways.
We learn things. It's all right.
Anyways. All right. So then we're going to go to Genesis chapters 3 and 4. This is when shit hits the fan, where they eat the forbidden fruit, pumpkin of knowledge.
Pumpkin of knowledge.
Probably not an apple, honestly. That's what most of the scholarship says. And our pals are kicked out of paradise.
Side note, we should, at some point, if you guys are interested, let us know. We can potentially take our first podcast, our Good Omens podcast episode about the Garden of Eden, and bump it into an episode here if you guys are interested.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
To learn more about the pumpkin of knowledge.
Yes. I gave you guys a synopsis of differences between the two variations of the creation story.
Honestly, that is a pretty short synopsis, all things considered.
It's shorter than the actual Bible.
Yeah.
As you probably heard, first there were 2 humans, and then there was one, and then ancient anesthesia, and then, like, really weird genetic science experiment, and then there's 2 humans.
Yeah.
So, what happened?
Plot hole.
Yeah, so this idea of Lilith being the first lady,
Mm-hmm.
human lady, in the first telling is a way to harmonize this plot hole of the two creation stories, making each one about a different woman. So it's not that maybe it was written at different times by different people with different traditions. It's like, how can we try and make this still true?
They're trying to make, yeah.
Yeah. So let's dive more into where Lilith comes in here, because we have this unnamed female in the first story, right? God created Lilith out of the dust, just like Adam, and then she challenges Adam's power by wanting to be the dominant one in adult spicy time. Because they are made from the same earth, so they're equals.
Makes sense.
Logic, yeah. Adam's not for this. And so Lilith says the ineffable 4-letter name of God and pieces on out and flies away to the Red Sea. How can she fly? Why can she fly? I don't know.
Wait, she says the ineffable
4-letter name of God.
Is that like actually his name?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that meant she like cursed him or
no. So there's some
like curses his name.
Jewish traditions where like the name of God, well, in general, the name of God is unknowable and you can't speak it. So that's why like God, is like, hey, this is George. This is George, right? You're not supposed to know God's names. You hear him called like Yahweh or I am or whatever.
Okay, sure.
And those are just
ways to acknowledge him without.
They're more titles, I think.
Right.
I guess we're under the assumption in this version that her and Adam know the name of God because he was like, hey, I am the great George.
Yeah. Or at least she knew his name.
So
was like, screw you, I know his name. This is what it is. And then she just pieces out.
So I'm taking an educated guess here because I don't know as much about this. I'd have to research it.
Sure.
That might be a fun topic.
Yeah, fine.
She flies away to the Red Sea. And then 3 angels try to bring her back, but she sets like a hard boundary and is like, leave me. My only reason for being created was to cause sickness to infants.
Oh!
So she's being a little extra here. She's having a bad day.
She was.
The angels and Lilith come to an agreement that she'll spare the infants if they wear an amulet.
Oh.
So the amulet I mentioned in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can I just say, too, this is like... I'm probably reading, like, way too much into this. This is kind of sad. Because you know how people say things that they don't mean when they're upset? That just reminds me, like, she was really, really upset. She was not being treated as an equal, even though they were, in her mind, and according to the story, they were made of the same stuff. Mm-hmm. They should have been equal. And she's like, I'm done with this. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to be treated like this anymore. She buzzes out. She's not having a good day. The angels come after her and they're like, why are you being so extra? And she's like, because the only reason I was, made was to do this, this, and this. And it's like, maybe she didn't actually like...
Well, more than likely. I mean, I see where you're coming from there, and that makes a lot of sense. It's also, this story is not as old as you would think it is.
Okay.
It's not like new, but it's not as old as you would think. We'll get into that.
Okay.
But it's a time when men had all of the power.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, this person's threatening to become as powerful as Adam, so let's make her look evil.
Yeah. It's sad.
Via Religion for Breakfast, Lilith in this variant of the text is an evil demonic anti-mother, killing infants while birthing thousands of demon babies. So it's like, let's make her look really bad, basically.
Terrible. Let's trash her.
According to some mythologies, Lilith then becomes the mother to the demonic children fathered by the archangel Samael, not Adam. So in some traditions, she does give birth to children from Adam, and they become demons too. Okay. I had a hard time following that rabbit hole, so I just kind of left it.
Sure.
These children are sometimes thought to be succubi and incubi. So those are demonic entities that basically, trigger warning, sexually assault humans.
Isn't it in their sleep?
Yeah. So the incubi would go after female humans, and the succubi are female demons that go after male humans.
Yeah.
So who is Samael? Keep throwing this name around.
I've not heard that name, so that one I couldn't tell you.
So he is the king of all demons, the angel of death, the husband to Lilith, and the arch nemesis of the archangel Michael. What a resume. We'll get into this. There's like some inner tie on like a lot of times him and Lucifer are kind of intertwined.
Okay. Like Samael equals Satan type
equals
of thing?
Lucifer, not Satan. There's a difference.
Oh, that's what I was trying to...
But that's also very, we'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
I know that name from the TV show Lucifer because that was the angel he was before he fell and became Lucifer in that TV show.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like a TV show. I wasn't a huge fan of like the ending, but
Yeah.
Tom Ellis is pretty cool. He's Samael is associated with Mars, Tuesdays, and you shouldn't say his name out loud because you might draw his attention.
Oh, well.
Sorry.
We're gonna cleanse the room after this.
He gets a lot of negative acts and occurrences in Jewish history attributed to him. So the physical description from the Encyclopedia Britannica, he flies like a bird with 12 wings, cross-eyed with fire in his eyes, horns, so his height is a walk of 500 years. It's very like in Dante's Inferno, like it reminds me a lot of, you get to the very last pit and then you a circle and then you find like Lucifer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've heard ties to Lucifer in the media, but my understanding is this is more of a misnomer if I'm understanding correctly, which might not be true because I also didn't go down that rabbit hole.
Okay.
According to Religion for Breakfast, there's similarities to Satan, but remember, Satan and Lucifer are not the same, and they're not interchangeable. So I'm going to go in just a quick. Satan is more of a title. It just means like the adversary.
Mm-hmm.
So Satan isn't necessarily Lucifer, who was the fallen angel who is often attributed to being the devil in Christianity. All right, so where does this version of events come from? Because it's a reading of the Bible and people ran with it.
Yeah.
And added a lot to it. So do you have any thoughts or do you want me to keep going?
I feel like I have something spinning around in there, but I can't quite get it out. So maybe let's just keep going and I'll let that cook away in the back of my brain here.
Okay, sorry, but there is really no basis for this in the Hebrew Bible or the Christian Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
The alphabet of Ben Sira is where a lot of this comes from. It was a medieval Jewish text. So the Jewish Women's Archives called it a provocative and often misogynist satirical Hebrew work of the 8th century Common Era. I've seen the dates run from about 800 to 1000 CE. Also in Kabbalah, which is more of like the mystical Judaism, she is seen as an evil reflection of the feminine aspect of God along with Samael. In like the earlier tradition we just talked about, it was Samael was her second husband.
Okay.
In Kabbalic texts, he is the original primordial mate. It's like a parallel, basically.
Oh.
So it's like Samael and Lilith is the parallel of Adam and Eve.
Like they were the dark shadows that were created.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not that Adam and Eve are that light of shadows.
I mean, yeah.
So influences on how Lilith came to become a demonic figure, right? We briefly touched on earlier this idea of this different cultures having these Lilith demons, and then how did she become what she is now? Mm-hmm. To start, Liliths and the male Lilai, as a type of demon, go way back. Like, we're talking several thousand years. So we're going to start with Gilgamesh and the Hulupu.
Hulupu?
Yeah, Gilgamesh and the Hulupu tree. Gilgamesh a lot of times is known from the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is one of the most ancient epic poems, and it's from Mesopotamia. This text refers to a female demon called a Lilike. And this is the first textual appearance that we have of these Lilith-like demons. The Bible only mentions Lilith once, and this is as a dweller in the waste places from the book of Isaiah, chapter 34, verse 14. In the story, God wrecks Edom and pretty much makes it a wasteland. It seems very similar to Sodom and Gomorrah, but I didn't read further into that.
Sure.
Very little is said in this passage, and from Religion for Breakfast, it's implied that the audience of the time would have been familiar with who Lilith was because it didn't go into any detail.
She would have been like a household name.
Yeah,
almost.
so that they would have had an idea of what was being talked about.
Okay.
She could have been a wilderness demon, maybe a type or class of demon, maybe not even a demon at all, like a nocturnal creature. A screech owl was brought up. So we're going to go to ancient Babylonian beliefs that the Lilith demons were seen as a slayer of children and a seducer. I'm assuming they mean of adults, but it was worded as a seducer and slayer of children.
Ooh.
So I'm hoping they mean a seducer of adults.
It could also be sometimes words mean something that isn't necessarily like how modern. So like think of being seduced in like a modern context. It's in like a romantic or sexual way. That could also mean like, oh, especially back then, I imagine, like seduced by power. You know, oh, I was seduced by the idea of gaining power. So it could have been like, oh, she pulled these children in with nice words or whatever, and maybe not necessarily.
I mean, she would have killed them though, so
right, but get them close to her and then
kind of like a Pied Piper thing.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So I've seen these called the Lilu and the Lilith demons in different sources, and I think they're referring to the same entities. They were once humans that were the spirits of men and women who died young, so never had intimacy or children. They would enter a house through the window and take the place of the husbands or wives they never had.
Ooh!
So very, like, doppelganger, incubi, succubi.
Fae.
You're Fae, yeah.
Fae-esque.
All right, and then we have Lamashtu, who is a Mesopotamian goddess/demon, and she would threaten very young babies and eat human flesh and blood. She attacked and tormented women during childbirth, causing miscarriages, and stole breastfeeding infants. She had both animal and human features, so a lion or a bird's head covered with feathers and with talons for her feet.
Reminds me of like a harpy.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
The Lilith and Lilith demons do appear in some of the manuscripts and texts in the Dead Sea Scrolls. These were scrolls and other texts that were discovered in caves, basically. They're called the Dead Sea Scrolls because I think they're in that area of the Middle East.
Okay.
Some of them were like extra Bible verses. Some of them were just almost... They're cool because they preserve how different texts might have looked at that time. They're very old.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So we're going to get into a little bit of historical context here. Early on, there was a focus on the dangers of childbirth and infancy, because infant mortality and childbirth fatalities were higher during that time.
Yeah.
Yes, childbirth is still dangerous today, but it was very, very dangerous then, because if something went wrong, they didn't have the medical knowledge and technology to potentially save a mother or a child that they do today.
Right.
So a quote from How Stuff Works: "These ancient stories recognize the limits of our ability to control the world and reflect a desire to make these awful events seem less random."
Mm-hmm. We've talked about that several times now, about legends explaining what we can't understand as a human race.
Yeah,
in the times that.
And I can see, we'll get more into this when we do kind of our closing thoughts, but child mortality, infant mortality, and death during childbirth, right, are very traumatic things.
Yeah.
So it might make more sense to like blame it on a demon.
Sure.
Thoughts or questions before we get into like, okay, so people feared this demon, so how did they protect themselves from her?
I don't think so. I've kind of been saying stuff out loud here throughout it.
So protection. There are Aramaic incantation bowls. These are from Sasanian and early Iraq and Iran, so we're looking at 400 to 800 Common Era. So from the Jewish Women's Archives, a drawing of a bound Lilith or other demon often appeared in the center of the bowl. The bowl's purpose was usually to exorcise demons from the house or from the body of a client whose name was on the bowl. Or it could also be used to turn back like malevolent magic others had practiced against the client.
Ooh.
The Religion for Breakfast video had a bunch of like
images of it.
Yeah, so these things were pretty common.
Did you do something like put herbs in the bowl or burn incense? Or...
I have no clue.
Oh, okay. That's interesting to me. It's fascinating.
Yeah, these were protection bowls. Amulets with the names of certain angels could be used to protect against her, and there were amulets specifically for Lameshtu.
Okay.
Another way to deal with a Lilith demon was to have a ritual marriage performed using figurines. So, like, you would be... Because some of these cultures believed that these Lilith demons were the spirits of women and men who had died before they could get married.
And...
So
sure.
they would appease the spirit by having these little figurines marry.
Huh. And the figurines presumably represented the person and whoever their human they would be marrying would be.
Or it didn't have to be like an actual human. It's this kind of fall. I was just talking about this in the script I wrote for the September episode.
Ooh.
About sympathetic magic. So this is the idea that you are doing magic by like putting it into something else. We talked about how voodoo dolls aren't actual things, like puppets or sympathetic magic, because you are inflicting or putting something into an inanimate object instead of a person.
Okay, sure.
So let's talk about Lilith in the modern day a little bit.
Okay.
She has become a symbol of autonomy, independence, and sexual liberation starting in the 1960s.
Cool.
The whole view on her has pretty much shifted. A feminist theologian had a modern midrash, which is a commentary on Jewish text, on Lilith, and this helped transform her in the view of other people. A midrash is Jewish rabbis will kind of discuss and debate different texts.
Okay.
And they'll write on it. So it's like a commentary. It's like an interpretation.
Like an annotated almost. Oh, cool.
There's some pretty famous ones from famous rabbis. It's very like, it goes back in their traditions for a very long time.
Wow.
It's very different than Christianity there, right? Because it's like, hey, this is what you need to believe.
Yeah.
In a lot of denominations, not all. But in Judaism, it's like, actually, this is how I'm going to interpret it.
Yeah,
and
let's talk about this. Let's discuss.
In 1976, the feminist Jewish magazine Lilith took its name from her, due to the editors being inspired by the story of Lilith fighting with Adam for her equality.
Mm-hmm.
This view of Lilith has also found its way into contemporary pagan circles, and in the U.S., the name Lilith has increased greatly in popularity since the 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
There also was an all-female music festival called the Lilith Fair, co-founded by Sarah McLachlan.
Oh.
So the person that sings the really sad SPCA.
Yeah. And doesn't she sing Concrete Angel too?
Does she?
No, that's not. No, I don't think that's
that song I refuse to listen to because it made me so sad as a child.
Yeah.
It's an important song.
Yeah.
Because it's about child abuse, but
a hard one to listen to.
So this music festival lasted from 1997 to 1999, and then it popped up again in 2010, and then it didn't pop back up again.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about pop culture. So...
Which one of us is going to say it first?
I'll let you do it.
Has-Been Hotel.
Who is Lilith in Has-Been Hotel, in case people have been listening this long and haven't watched Has-Been Hotel.
Yes, so spoilers if you haven't, but she is Charlie Morningstar's mother in Has-Been Hotel.
And she's also Lucifer's wife and the Queen.
Oh, and Lucifer's wife. Yeah.
You just.
I was like, Lucifer. I don't care about him. No, I do. I love him.
So like
in the show.
In the show.
Oof.
In the show, she was Adam's first wife.
Yes.
And then she fell with Lucifer.
Yeah. Lucifer came to her because he was drawn in by her independent spirit, I think is almost a direct quote. And they fell in love. And
she actually fell.
Yeah.
He actually fell.
I think in the show they both offered the fruit of knowledge to Eve, who accepted it, and then that caused Eve and Adam to be banished from the garden. It allowed evil to come into the world. And
free will to come into the world.
Free world.
Evil kind of was a side effect.
Yes, and then because of that, Lucifer and Lilith were both cast out into the dark pit, quote, into the dark pit they had created.
And then later on they had Charlie.
Yes.
And then she vanished for 7 years, conspicuously.
And I'm not gonna lie, I really don't want her to be evil. I want her and Lucifer to get back together, because I've seen so much good fan art of that, and it just warms my little soft heart that I pretend is blackened. I feel like it's not going to end well for her, but I do kind of, I'm not going to lie, I kind of ship them. I didn't really feel one way or the other about it at first, but...
I feel like she owns Alistair's soul.
Yeah.
And that makes me not like her.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
She just like up and vanished and abandoned her daughter for 7 years.
That's true. Let's go season 2. We need answers.
So where else does she show up? And once again, we've already said that I have only sort of read Chronicles of Narnia, but apparently the White Witch is a descendant of Lilith, according to Wikipedia.
I need to read... Oh, sugar. What's the first one? There's, like, a lot of people start the Narnia series, or at least this is what I've heard. A lot of people start the Narnia series at The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
There's one before it.
There's one before it.
I did read that book.
That I think Lilith is in... Oh, no, it's not Lilith.
No,
but
I
think it might be...
Witch.
Yeah.
I did read that one.
What is that name? Oh, that's going to bother me.
Anyways.
But
The Magician's
Nephew.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. I did read that one. I'll read them eventually. Did you ever watch The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina? It was on, it was a couple of years ago that it was actually pretty good. It was based off the comics that...
Oh, okay. I add it to the list. I have not.
It was pretty good, but it was... So she was merged with the character Mother Satan, which is funny to say. Has Been Hotel, we got that.
Hey.
Who definitely doesn't own Alistair Soul. Okay. Have you ever watched Frasier or Cheers?
I love Frasier.
So I forgot because my husband has been rewatching Frasier.
Oh, I'm dead.
It's a good show.
That's funny. It is a good show.
His ex-wife's name was Lilith.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Frasier's ex-wife?
Yeah.
Or... I guess you're right.
My husband doesn't have an ex-wife.
No. I was thinking about Frasier or his brother because he's a brother in the show. Niles, and his wife is...
What is his wife's name? She never shows up on camera.
She never does, but she's apparently, if I remember the show, she's a handful, to say the least.
But yeah, Frasier's ex-wife was Lilith.
I used to love Niles when I got to watch that show.
I
get to watch all the older shows because, like, we have that on Antenna TV.
Frasier is a good show. I like
good.
Cheers too, but Frasier is a good show.
Yeah.
I almost like Frasier better, honestly.
Yeah, I can't say I've never really watched Cheers, so I don't know much about that one, but I do love Frasier. Anyway.
So the show Lucifer, which was on whatever network, and then it got canceled and went to Netflix.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't super happy with how it ended. Anyways, so she is the mother of all demons in Lucifer, including Mazikeen, so Maze.
Okay.
Apparently, she is the mother of demons in the Mortal Instruments books. I definitely read them as a teenager. Remember absolutely nothing about them, though.
I never read those. I feel like I need to, though, because I know they were very popular.
I read all of them.
I was sucked into Harry Potter hard.
See, I
didn't read anything else.
I was too. I read so much that it probably should have been a little bit alarming to my parents.
Oh, that's okay. My Harry Potter books, my parents took them away from me after a while because I was reading them too much.
So I had I remember when Borders was a thing.
Yeah.
So
bring it back.
I paid for the Borders card. It was like $60 a year or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would go to Borders every 2 weeks
and
get all of these different books. Anyways, Supernatural seasons 3 and 4. If I remember this correctly, she possessed a little girl for a lot of that, and it was really creepy.
I still need to watch that whole show.
Only 15 seasons.
Yeah.
In True Blood, she was the first vampire. I don't remember this in the books, but it's been a minute. I watched some of True Blood, but I read all the books.
Okay.
In high school, and my memory is notoriously not great. And there were a lot of books.
Yeah, there were. I think I want to read that one at some point, that series. I'm reading Interview with a Vampire right now.
No hate to the writing style. My brain could not stay occupied long enough to read it.
That's why I can't read Mark Twain. I love Mark Twain as a person. I think he's hilarious. I cannot read his books. I cannot do it. I hate Tom Sawyer.
There were some books that I had to read in AP English, that the synopsis was more interesting. The Heart of
Yes.
The Heart of Darkness was one where it was written in such a flowery way that I was just get to the point.
Yeah.
And that was a really dark book too. Mm-hmm. It was interesting, and it would have been interesting if it
was about half the size that it was. Yeah.
No hate if someone likes that. I do.
No, it's just...
I like classical literature too. I do, but I was
there are just certain writing styles that people can vibe with and that they can't, and that's okay. We're not hating on anyone.
Get on with it.
Yeah. Back to something strange here.
Also, apparently The Witcher. I haven't watched that either.
No.
She's apparently in the books and mentioned in the show. There were some interesting facts that I came up with, but do you have any thoughts on Lilith before we dive into these thoughts and ending questions and stuff?
My biggest one is that I feel and maybe this is because I'm a little biased, I can't help but see her as a kind of feminist icon and feel like she got a bad rap. And if she is a horrible demon that is actually out to kill children, that's not great. But I also feel like, again, these stories were written in a time, I'm going to be careful how I say this, women were not seen as humans, straight up.
Like, no, they were seen as property.
Yeah. And I can't imagine that was just the I don't know, but I can't imagine that was just the status quo and women just accepted that. I'm sure just like in times moving forward from there, just like we see in more modern day texts, is I feel like there had to have been women that did not just lay down and accept that, and were treated terribly because of that.
I think in general, if a woman probably didn't conform in that time, she was probably, like you said, treated badly or made out to be like possessed or
murdered.
Yeah. So just some interesting facts that I found. A cult or religious movement related to Lilith survived among Jewish individuals until at least the 7th century Common Era. Not exactly sure what this cult did.
I mean, that's probably a good thing if we don't hear too much good or bad about it. Hopefully they kept themselves out of trouble.
Yeah, and maybe it was more of like a female...
like empowerment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to read this quote from Jewish Women's Archives. Lilith not only embodies people's fears of how attraction to others can ruin their marriages, or of how risky childbearing and child raising are, but also represents a woman whom society cannot control, a woman who determines her own sexual partners, who is wild and unkempt, and who does not have the natural consequences of sexual activity, children. For lack of like this is not supposed to be a pun, it's demonizing a woman who doesn't fit
the societal norms. Yeah. Yep.
All right, so let's go into thoughts.
Me. Sorry.
So let's go into thought.
We see it throughout history of women are not treated well, and especially back in this time, they were property. And we see that throughout history moving forward. The first thing that comes to my mind is the suffragette movement, which I can go on a soapbox about that, about how that wasn't necessarily for all women. There was race involved in that. And to be clear, guys, I have not thoroughly studied the suffragette movement, so I'm trying not to say anything too like hardcore as fact, and please don't take what I'm saying for gospel. But the little bit that I do know is that like anytime those women tried to speak out and tried to be seen as something more than just a human being that should be pregnant and barefoot in the kitchen, to use a crude term, they were treated terribly. They were like, it was just really bad. They were thrown in jail, and I can only imagine how much worse it was before that. Like the suffragette movement, if we're being honest, is not that long ago. It was the early 1900s. It's not that long ago. And so talking thousands of years before that, I can only imagine how much worse it was for these women. And I can't imagine that all of them, every woman on this planet, just fell in line with that ideal of, oh, okay, this is just how my life is going to be. There had to have been a person that stepped out of that status quo. And to me, it feels like the story of Lilith was meant to keep them in their place and keep them in line, which is gross.
I think a lot of religious texts that are from a very patriarchal viewpoint do that, right? Because I mean, even with Adam and Eve is subservient.
Yeah.
Adam is not only given dominion over the animals, he is also in charge of Eve.
Yeah.
And like you said, when a woman did not stick to the status quo, that was very threatening to the power structure. Because, like, that's half the population. And all of a sudden, half the population decides we're not going to agree with you anymore.
Yeah.
That's dangerous to a power structure. So when someone is not following those societal ideals, they tended to be demonized. They tended to be like, well, don't be like her. Look at her. She became a demon.
Yeah.
You know, you question and don't listen, like Eve did, even unknowingly, and you cursed all of humanity.
Yeah. It even in, like, making the humans, the first story of they came from the earth together, that's not a point that can be argued. They came from the same earth. And I feel like then the second version came out of, oh no, they didn't come from the same earth. This woman literally wouldn't be here if it weren't for Adam, sacrificing one of his ribs. And I sound very snarky when I say this, but it's a frustrating thing for me. I apologize. I'm not crashing on anyone's religious beliefs. I'm not saying anyone is wrong for believing what they believe in. This is just something personally for me that sticks in my craw. You wouldn't even be here if it weren't for this man. It's like, well, okay.
I mean, technically, you do need an egg and...
Yeah. But in that case, they yanked his rib out and, like, grew her from him. Like,
well, he didn't even grew her. God did.
That's true.
Belief and tradition and mythology and religion are as shaped as society as much as they shape society. Mm-hmm. And you can see that throughout this text, because the Lilith demons sometimes were male in the older stories, too.
Sure.
You have more of the incubi type creatures. And it almost seems like it became more specifically female the tighter the grip patriarchal forces had.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean, I haven't studied enough of that throughout time to know if that's true, but it's like, okay, when you get to the time of, like, the alphabet of, whatever the person's name was.
Yeah, and that gentleman.
That gentleman. It would have been a pretty male-dominated world. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, then it would have been like, oh, there's this independent female that doesn't jive with our beliefs, so we need to...
And if they felt like that grip was slipping at all, they're going to hang on even tighter.
Yeah, which... The thing, though, is that technically Lilith didn't have to exist because they were literally pulling from a couple words being different.
True.
Although they might have been leaning on some of those older Lilith demons, trying to kind of make them
make sense.
It's like, hey, there's this inconsistency in the Bible. How do we explain this?
Yeah, how do we explain this away?
Like, oh, you know what? There's this older tradition. Let's kind of fill in the gaps. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's interesting.
I also love how lore evolves with time. Like, we see Lilith now as this feminine... Oh, well, I shouldn't say we. She is seen in certain circles as this, like, feminist icon, and it's like when you look at the Bible, it's like, no, she's portrayed as a demon, but how
not
is she,
in the Bible even.
Or not in the Bible, but in, like, Jewish texts?
Not even. It's just, like, stories and, like, because she's only really mentioned in that one passage in Isaiah.
Okay.
But she's not even called a demon
That's
at that
true.
point. You're just looking at more, like, folk texts.
Mm-hmm. And then it reminds me of Medusa, because the story of Medusa has evolved, I feel, too, in modern times of, she's this Gorgon, this evil person, and she just turned people to stone by looking at them. And it's like, well, she was tortured.
That's only if you read the... Good Lord, what was his name? That's only if you read the entire story about Medusa, but people only read what's his face when he goes to face her.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I almost had a classics minor too. This is gonna...
Sorry.
Some ancient Greek hero.
That dude.
Jason and the Argonauts? Is that one of his things? I'll have to look this up later. But if you read the rest of the story of how Medusa became Medusa, I mean, she pissed off Athena.
Yes.
Athena or Artemis? Athena.
I feel like Athena's sticking in my brain,
and
but
then
I could be wrong.
But she was also, like, sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
So she was turned into a Gorgon, and that almost kind of was a way to make sure she wasn't going to get sexually assaulted again if she's turning men to stone.
Mm-hmm. When I say lore evolves, it's like how we focus on different parts of the text more so than it's focused on in other time periods. And, like, these figures take on new meaning.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. So what drew you to this topic?
I really like some of the more tangential corners of religion and folklore and belief. In general, I think Lilith is well known pop culture wise in our society, but like a lot of things that are tangential or even like biblically known, it's this like modern amalgamation of a story. It's not actually anything the whole story and information generally isn't known. It's just kind of what the modern view is.
Sure.
So I like exploring that.
Yeah. Was there a particular rabbit hole you wish you could have explored further?
Yes. Oh, that's what his name is. Ben
So
Sira.
many.
The alphabet of Ben Sira would be one. Bala, Lamesh 2. The Dead Sea Scrolls. There was another thing. Like, was it like the whole Lucifer versus Satan?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's your...
Pumpkin of Wisdom.
The pumpkin of... What did you find most strange about this topic?
Just the journey the concept of Lilith has taken. It's old and new at once, right? Because the idea of these, like, Lilith, the Lila K, the Lila 2 demons are thousands of years old, right? Mm-hmm. But the idea of Lilith as, like, the first wife of Adam is in the common era. That means that is, like, within our current calendar.
Yeah. That's not as old as we would, yeah.
It's still old. I mean, it's not that far into the common era, but it's still, like, not, because I think most people think, like, oh, this has to be thousands and thousands of years old because it's biblically related, tangentially. But it's not. It is.
It's more modern than we would
imagine. It was, like, the 800 CE.
Sure. So first century.
No. 8th century.
Oh, 800.
7th century.
Sorry.
7th century.
7th century. Or no, 9th.
Wait, hold on.
9th century.
Are we in the 21st century?
Yes.
So that'd be 9th century.
9th century. There we go.
Okay.
We got this, guys. We're professionals.
Okay.
All right, friends. Well, we'd love to hear from you. If you have a suggestion for a strange or mysterious topic, a comment about an episode, or just want to chat, please reach out. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube. Comment directly on episodes on Spotify, leave a review on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or find us on Instagram at @something_strangepod. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at @something_strangepod and comment on episodes there. You can also send us a Gmail at somethingstrangepod24@gmail.com, and that 24 is numeric.
Well, strangers, it's time for us to part ways.
Till the next time, keep your windows locked at night.
We'll be back again soon with another
Something Strange.